Did you know it makes more sense to use Mobile instead of evolving it into Dectera? That's because of Enhanced Trait. We're going to discuss the best ways to use Enhanced Traits and how to get Enhanced Traits on any Coromon in the game. So if you enjoy the content, hit like and subscribe, let's jump on in. Trait enhancements allow you to improve your Coromon's existing traits if you choose not to evolve them when the option presents itself. While this is the strict definition of trait enhancements, there's also another way to get an enhanced trait, which we'll talk about later in the video. In case you're still not sure how the trait enhancement works, let's use an example. The trait Clean Retreat allows the Coromon to be cured of all status problems when it returns to its spinner. If you do not evolve a Coromon that has the trait Clean Retreat when you have the chance, it becomes Clean Retreat Plus. This means the Coromon is cured of all status problems and recovers 15% of its max HP when returned to its spinner. If the Coromon is in its first stage out of 3, with the Clean Retreat trait, it'll have Clean Retreat Plus Plus. This means the Coromon is cured of all status problems and recovers 15% of its max HP and SP when returned to its spinner. As you can see, with each stage you don't evolve into, your trait becomes more powerful, and in the case of Clean Retreat, becomes even more effective for gaining SP, HP, and curing yourself of status problems. You might be thinking now, I'll never evolve a Coromon again for competitive play because enhanced traits are so powerful, and while they are very powerful, there are things to consider, like the stat debuffs you get when you have enhanced traits. If your Coromon has Clean Retreat Plus and is not using the Enhancer Gem, you'll see a decrease of 25% in your attack and special attack, and a 20% decrease in your physical defense. If you have Clean Retreat Plus Plus, you'll see a decrease of 25% for both your physical and special attack, a 35% decrease in your physical defense, and a 15% decrease in your special defense. It's critical to think about if the stat decreases you're getting from an enhanced trait are worth the enhanced trait itself. If the Coromon is meant to be bulky and you're losing a lot of special defense and defense, you might be better off using something like the Enhancer Gem, which will allow you to keep the stats of a fully evolved Coromon but get an enhanced trait. But before we get into the Enhancer Gem, which I promise we'll get into shortly, I do want to flesh out completely when it does make sense to use a baby Coromon and enhanced traits versus when you want to use a fully evolved Coromon and that Enhancer Gem. In general, what you want to understand about baby mons is that they are extremely viable because they often end up being more hyper-centralized versions of what the final forms are meant to be. A really good example of that is the Pike and Slither Pin lines, because each Coromon is meant to be a bulky physical mon that can set Spike Trap and punish physical attackers with Kuanu Rock if you're Sir Pike, and you can punish physical attackers even further with Slither Pin because of its enhanced trait and the Kuanu Rock on top of that. In this case, because the main thing you're trying to do is set up spikes and punish physical attackers with recoil, Slither Pin is actually more effective because you do 50% recoil with that Spike Body plus, and you're still able to retain most of the bulk that Sir Pike has when you stay Slither Pin. You do lose out on some offensive stats, so the sets that you'll see are a little bit different, with Slither Pin being less offensive and Sir Pike having a little bit more offensive pressure. But again, because the main job of this Coromon is to set spikes and to punish people with recoil, Slither Pin is hyper focused at that and is really viable in that role. One example where it does not make sense to use a baby Coromon is the Tarline that has Motivated. With the Motivated trait, when you defeat a Coromon, your attack and special attack are raised by 1 stage. But as you get into the enhanced versions of that, with like Motivated Plus, your attack and special attack drop by 30%, and your HP also drops by 40%. So Blazitar, who has this trait, and Octo, who has this trait, both Coromon are better off staying fully evolved because the stat decrease that you get from Motivated Plus in this case doesn't outweigh the benefit that you receive from the enhanced trait. It does make sense to use the Enhancer Gem when the Coromon is very viable with the trait it currently has, but it could use an extra boost with an enhanced trait. And the Coromon we'll use as our example is Magmalus. Magmalus has the trait Magic Layer, which means that the Coromon reduces special damage taken by 15% and increases special damage dealt by 10%. With the Enhancer Gem, that changes to Magic Layer Plus, and now the damage taken is 25% and the damage dealt is increased to 20%. In this case, using the Enhancer Gem makes a lot of sense because Magmalus has pretty good stats as a fully evolved Coromon. Magic Layer is already a really great trait that you're making even better with the Enhancer Gem, and there aren't really other items that would outweigh the benefits that you get from this enhanced trait. In summary, there are a few things to keep in mind. 1. Every pre-evolved Coromon has an enhanced trait. What you want to do is use a damage calc to determine if the stat decrease you receive for having that enhanced trait makes it worth using the Coromon. When using baby Coromon, you want to determine if the role that they're fulfilling is better served by evolving the Coromon or keeping it in its pre-evolved state, like for example Sir Pike and Slither Pin. With Slither Pin, it's very clear that the benefits of the enhanced trait outweigh evolving because you don't lose key stat points, and the enhanced trait helps you fulfill your role even more effectively. If you are using the enhancer gem, you want to find traits that are already pretty good, but you want to take full advantage of it with an enhanced trait, and typically you want Coromon with really good stats, or stats that would be greatly hindered by devolving or using a pre-evolution form, so much so that you'd prefer to use the fully evolved Coromon to keep their stats and just buff up that trait a little bit to make it more effective in its role. Enhanced traits, either by using a pre-evolved Coromon or by using the enhancer gem, is a really great way to have a flexible, competitive Coromon team and to use Coromon that you typically wouldn't. Something like Slither Pin, like we've been using as an example here, probably wouldn't be very viable without its enhanced trait. And there are other things like Squidma and tons of other Coromon that are pre-evolved that are now viable. And there are some Coromon that are fully evolved, but with that enhanced trait become even more viable. With that being said, let me know your favorite enhanced trait down in the comments. If you have any questions, also leave them down so we can get those answered for you. And as always, if you enjoy Coromon and other monster taming content, definitely like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Alright, bye everyone.